Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, yesterday, the Hungarian foreign minister, Peter Szijjártó, broke ranks with the European Union and flew to Moscow. It's the first visit by any EU leader other than that strange visit by the Austrian I can't remember if it was the president or the prime minister. I don't know what that was about. But other than that, no one from the EU has gone to Moscow. So he went to Moscow, but not in order to, like Liz Truss, berate his Russian host, but instead said, "Hey, can we have some gas, please? Because we've got a winter coming up." And the Russians said, "Sure. How much do you want?" So apparently they're going to sign an agreement for 700 million, I think, 700 million cubic meters of natural gas. The significance of this visit, other than that it just broke ranks, is that the EU has just issued a diktat demanding that everyone in the EU reduce their gas consumption by 15%, initially voluntarily, but then it will be mandatory. But what was significant in this EU declaration is that it was demanding EU solidarity. In other words, that everybody has to chip in and there are to be no unilateral measures taken. In other words, it's precisely what the Hungarians did, which is what Ursula von der Leyen said you cannot do. And I just want to show you this thing that the EU issued on Wednesday, which is show that. And yeah, so this is the communication, and
save gas for a safe winter.
Exactly, save gas, safe winter, yeah. And then the opening line is Russians unprovoked and unjustified. They have to say that, unprovoked. They have to stick with that line. It's like, we either hang together or we hang separately. So they have to, that's the line from the EU, NATO. They always say, the first thing is always unprovoked attack. And then it says that this it has triggered price volatility and energy insecurity. And then they said that, blah, blah, we are ending our dependence on Russian gas as soon as possible, while pursuing these actions, remaining fully committed to the objectives of the European Green Deal. Europe needs to accelerate its preparations, blah, blah, for including a complete cutoff of Russian gas supplies. And then it says, in the event of a further disruptions of supply or full cutoff, Europe needs to be, in the spirit of European solidarity and cooperation, the EU needs to ensure that the gas flows where it is most needed, protecting both our domestic customers as well as our jobs and the economy as a whole.
Who will determine who is the most needed, George?
Exactly. That's quite the point. And then it says, so this is to this end, we propose a new European gas demand reduction plan, and then accompanied by a council regulation envisaging an immediate recommendation for a voluntary gas demand reduction of 15% in all member states. And then it goes on, again, all these other things, gas substituted with other fuels and energy, and then ultimately implementing this gas demand reduction plan will create the conditions for further complete phase out. But what is interesting here is that acting jointly now is less disruptive and costly, facilitates solidarity, and avoids the need for unplanned and uncoordinated actions later in a possible crisis situation with gas reserves running low. We will move expeditiously towards a coordinated and ultimately joint purchase of gas and in the future, renewable hydrogen to secure future energy needs. So
that's hard reading, George.
Very hard reading.
I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Is this a recommendation or a threat?
It's a threat. I mean, the key thing is, but first of all, he says, look, since last year, Russian gas supplies to the EU have been declining markedly in a deliberate attempt to weaponize energy. So it goes back to what we were saying the other day. I mean, so what is it? I mean, do you want to get off Russian fossil fuels or don't you? He's like, so now, the Russians are weaponizing energy.
So the Germans that canceled Nord Stream 2, that's Russia weaponizing Nord Stream 2. Is that right? So who weaponized it?
Who weaponized it? Yeah, I mean, it's all so absolutely bizarre, because they're saying, oh, this is great because we supposedly have to move towards this green New Deal, green energy. But apparently when gas supplies from Russia go down, which presumably you think is a good thing, oh, no, that's just Russia using energy against us. But I thought you're for that. I mean, isn't that a good thing? It's confusing. Which is it? I mean,
they need to be thanking Putin, thanking him.
Yeah, exactly.
Given their logic, at least.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, George, I haven't. Yeah, let me look. I don't see word sanctions yet. Do you?
No, I don't either.
I think that's what weaponized energy was, the sanctions. I may be wrong.
Well, that's the thing that we look at it this way. This is energy. So Nord Stream 2, they cancel Nord Stream 2. Then they say we're going to cut off all coal imports from Russia. Now they're saying they're going to cut off all oil imports by the end of the year. But suddenly, we're having a problem with energy, and it's Russia's fault. The logic is just baffling. It's kind of headache-inducing.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a drug addict. I have to get off this drug, but as they're saying it, the syringe is going in the arm. I mean, this is a self goal. This is all self-inflicted. Even at the start of the special military operation, the gas flows, oil flows were going as normal. What changed? The sanctions changed everything. Right. Not Russia's policy, right, but Europe's policy. Right. So, I mean, do you want it or you don't want it? Make up your mind. Okay? That's right. And then you have, all these, natural gas isn't, that's kind of close to eco-friendly. They keep changing the rules, okay? And then who's digging for coal again in Europe? The Germans are thinking about it now. So I mean, what's important here? The Green New Deal or Ukraine? You've got to make up your mind here.
That's right. That's it. Yeah, it's right. You can't. The EU has faced a series of sudden, unwarranted, and unilateral actions by Russia to reduce or stop deliveries to European customers, disrupting economic activity and driving prices upwards. Well, what are these actions? I mean, they did cut off gas flows, but to country, because they said you have to pay in rubles.
You have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. You have to pay. We will not tolerate Russia demanding payment. We will not tolerate it. I mean, exactly.
And as far as paying in rubles, what you have to do is Gazprom Bank and open up an account. It's just an accounting thing. And why did they want rubles? Because if you get into the international financial system, that those funds can be frozen and stolen. So Russia is covering its bets by making sure that it gets paid for its product. There's nothing nefarious about it whatsoever. And on top of it, the ruble rate is market determined. That's right. The market is determining the value of the ruble. It is not the Russian central bank, as much as they would like to.
That's right. That's right.
And they've already tried. They've already intervened to try to weaken the ruble, but the market says no. The market likes a strong ruble.
That's that's exactly right. And then here we have all the blah blah blah, energy and so on. And then there is no reason to believe that this pattern of behavior, which creates supply uncertainties and accompanying soaring prices, will change. Rather, a number of signals point to a likely deterioration of the gas supply outlook.
Okay, stop there. Okay, everybody look at that. Look at that, those two sentences. There is no reason to believe this pattern of behavior, which creates supply uncertainties and accompanying soaring prices, will change. Who's doing that? It's not Russia, it's Europe that's doing it. So they're talking about themselves. Did you cut and paste this from a Burrell blog?
Very nearly. No, this comes from Ursula von der Leyen. With her, this is the European Commission that has come up. And so, anticipating such a risk, the EU has already started to prepare for a protracted and possible full cut of gas from Russia at any moment.
And unprovoked. Where is it? Where is it unprovoked in that sentence? Okay.
And then a strong and credible EU coordinated action will provide greater certainty in an unstable market situation, increase the EU's resilience, and limit supply-driven impacts on prices. It will help fill more storage ahead of the winter. And then this as unilateral actions by member states would be suboptimal. Love that, suboptimal. Suboptimal for the EU as a whole, and thus for each individual member state as well. EU coordinated actions can help preserve functioning industrial supply chains and integrity and so on. So in other words, anything that, countries go off like Hungary and say, we're going to just, I don't care what the European Commission is saying, we're just going to get our gas from Russia. That is suboptimal. You never want to.
This is a serious question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just an advisory. This is something they can't enforce.
I don't think they can. I mean,
they can.
No, I don't think so. I think they can take countries to court, which is that's what they keep doing. I mean, they could take Hungary to court and say it's violating the EU treaty. But I don't know what else. I mean, it doesn't have any policing actions. I mean, other than taking to court, but they're already taking Hungary to court for a variety of reasons. But anyway, this is what the EU came up with, and now I kind of want to show you something. I think it's rather interesting. It was because they had. Putin, who was in Tehran the other day, and he was asked about this. I mean, what are you weaponizing gas? And his response was really interesting. So I want to just show you a little bit from his response, if I can get hold of it. Well, okay. It's a little slow, but it's just an interesting kind of the contrast between his obviously fact-based analysis and the absolute nonsense and obvious self-contradictions of this.
I read it. It's amazingly lengthy. It'd be very difficult for us to do it because of it.
No, I just want to show just a highlight because he makes one or two rather interesting points. Okay, so
here we go.
Okay. So what's happening? I've spoken about this numerous occasions, blah, blah. And he says that they are big experts. This is the Europeans, big experts on non-traditional relations. And they have also decided to make a bid for non-traditional energy sources. And then he talks about blah, blah. So what's going on today? Until recently, we supplied gas to Europe without Turkey. We supplied around 30 billion to Turkey, and then we had 170 billion to Europe, 55 billion via Nord Stream 1, and 33 billion via Yamal Europe. And then he says, Ukraine suddenly announced that it was going to close one of the two routes on its territory, allegedly because the gas pumping station is not under its control, but under the control of the Lugansk People's Republic. And then it goes on. What happened next? Poland imposed sanctions on Yamal Europe, which supplied the 33 billion, blah, blah. They shut it down completely. But then we saw that they turned on the Yamal Europe pipeline in reverse. They started taking about 32 million a day from Germany. Where is the gas from Germany coming from? It is our Russian gas. Why from Germany? Because it turned out to be cheaper for the Poles. They used to get it from us at a very high price, whereas in Germany, they get it from us 3 to 4 times cheaper than the market price. And then it says, so first one of the routes in Ukraine was shut down, then Yamal Europe was shut down. Now Nord Stream 1, which is one of the main routes, you know, we pumped this 55 billion cubic meters through it, and there are 5 Siemens gas compressor stations working there. One is on standby, and then 1 compressor had to be sent out for repairs, and then there was in Canada, but we still don't have it. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we thought we got it back, and he says, but you know, that but it ended up under sanction on Canada. So 1 pumping station, just 1 piece of equipment was out of order because of scheduled maintenance, and it has not been returned from Canada. So now we're being told that the unit will be delivered from Canada soon, but Gazprom does not have any official documents yet. And it says, you know, 1 more turbines are actually out of order. It leaves us 2 operational units and so on. And then, you know, and so on again, oil and petroleum products. And then in case, as for gas, there is another route we are ready to open, which is Nord Stream 2. It is ready to be launched, but they are not launching it. Problems here as well. I discussed them with the Chancellor about 6 or maybe 8 weeks ago, raised the issue. I said that Gazprom had reserved the capacity and that this capacity needed to be used, cannot be suspended in midair indefinitely. And then, you know, and so on. So the point here is that it's clear that the Europeans have got themselves into this mess. And I remember we were discussing this, I don't know how many gaggles we did long before February the 24th, about how the Europeans have failed to invest in fossil fuel technology. They failed to invest in new pipelines, failed to invest in refineries because it wasn't fashionable and banks didn't want to get involved in this kind of fossil fuel, old-fashioned, you know, fossil fuel technology. Instead, they went all in for renewables, which of course failed to deliver. They didn't sign long-term contracts with Russia, which of course, escalated prices. And that was before, you know, everything else on February the 20th. So then they compounded, one mistake was compounded upon another.
And then we had the situation with COVID where demand dropped precipitously. And then we got into this kind of very weird scissor thing because demand had gone down so far, but because it's the spot market, they were not able to fill up their tanks for the coming winter. So what we're seeing now is something that started in 2020. Right. Okay.
Yes.
This is, and so they're all saying it's all because of February 24th. That's not true. But what did happen after February 24th were the sanctions. Okay. Right. So I mean, this is all. First of all, it was a pandemic. Okay. And because of supply and demand, they didn't react. They were only reacting to the market in the moment, not thinking like, oh, in 6 months it's going to get cold again.
Right. Yeah. No, that's right. So they got themselves into this mess, and then you think, well, what did they think was going to happen with as a consequence of closing down Nord Stream 2? Well, they didn't really think, and this was something, again, it was a policy driven by the United States, which didn't like Nord Stream 2. They've never liked any gas deals between Europe and Russia. This goes back, you know, to the 1970s and 80s. They've always tried to thwart them. You know, Trump tried to thwart it. And now, it happened under Biden. So now they got themselves into this mess. And what do? Then they start blaming, obviously, Russia. Now they're blaming individual countries for lack of solidarity, because what's happened is that after this issuing this demand that everybody cuts back 15%, a number of countries, Spain, Portugal, Cyprus, Greece, said, well, why should we do this? Why should we show any solidarity? It's Germany's problem, and Germany's the one that got itself so dependent on Russian natural gas, and now we're supposed to bail out Germany. What did Germany do for us? Greece, can the Greeks remember this? After 2008, they didn't do very much for us, and now we have to help out Germany. So there seems to be very little solidarity. So at the moment, it doesn't look like this is going to pass the EU. It's possible Germany will have Germany will probably have the support of the Benelux countries and France, maybe. But Italy is in political turmoil. It doesn't look like Italy is going to help out, and everybody else is going to say, I don't think we're going to pull Germany's chestnuts out of the fire. So this looks like a dead on arrival.
Well, again, this is a form of projection. We need solidarity. We need solidarity because you don't have solidarity. Okay. And again, my first reaction is, are these threats or recommendations? Obviously, they're threats, but at the end of the day, can they follow through on it? You're right; they can take them to the courts and all that, but everybody will be sitting in the cold by the time that happens. Right, okay, right. So this is a desperate attempt. Again, it's trying to create a world that you want to believe exists, but it doesn't. You're not dealing with the here and now. And I always kind of joke about, we're not talking about avocado policy, because we're not. We're talking about keeping warm and keeping factories open, keeping people working. Right. You don't play with this type of stuff, okay? Right. And it was so poorly thought out. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's right. And they just mired into this positive. The same thing, incidentally, with this sanctions with food, because again, the EU's now had to backtrack partially, but again they said, well, we excluded food, until finally they pretty much acknowledged, well, you didn't effectively exclude food, because if you attack the issue of insurance and banks and ports of call, calling on in Russian ports, Russian ships calling in European ports, yeah, you're going to affect food. It doesn't take a genius to figure that one out.
And on top of it, the Ukrainians finally sheepishly said, all right, we'll demine the Black Sea. Okay, well, it's not going to make any Western media coverage whatsoever. Right. They've admitted that, okay, this is an issue. This is an issue for ships. Obviously, it's an issue.
Yeah,
okay?
That's right. That's
and
right.
Because also, to clear the mines and to clear a seaway, they're going to have to talk to the Russians about it. There's no two ways about it, okay? And that's something they loathe to do. But the reality of what the EU did with its sanctions, nobody wants to get stuck with a regulator. That's what they do. If you get stuck with one of these regulators for breaking a sanction, they just freeze all of your assets, all of your bank account. You're just done. They do that first before they talk to you.
That's right. That's right. That's it. But of course, that's what happens with sanctions. The whole idea, this disingenuous, well, we always excluded humanitarian aid. Well, we never did. We had all this during the 90s when then they heard the sanctions against Iraq. They said, no, we never sanctioned food and humanitarian aid. Yeah, but once you start sanctioning technology, dual use technology, you pretty much exclude everything, because almost anything is dual use. So yeah, then hospitals can't get equipment, and that's the famous the 500,000. Don't know whether 500,000 children died, but nonetheless, Madeleine Albright accepted that 500,000. But the point is, yeah, suddenly hospitals can't get what they want. And no one can get what they want, because hey, once you start sanctioning technology, everything can fall under banned technology products.
Well, and as you know, right now we're almost in August. It's hot. Okay, you need energy for air conditioning. But as we go into the fall, I fear I can with absolute certainty predict that the finger pointing and who's at fault, what went wrong, is going to get worse and worse and worse. George, we've been talking about this for months right now. They still have no plan whatsoever. They
Right.
the article that document you were reading, it's so turgid. Oh my goodness, that is struggle.
You can almost see Ursula von der Leyen at her keyboard writing it all out.
Yeah, that's what happens when you use Google Translator from German, you know. It's turgid, it's tough.
Was that word suboptimal? You know, you're definitely behaving in a suboptimal way.
Well, I mean, they're saying that they don't really have any solutions. I mean, that's what this is all about here.
Right.
It's very, very simple. Lift the sanctions, let the financial system work the way it's supposed to, and this will be resolved. Okay, but they won't. And pride and hubris is the makings of an unforced error. Okay.
That's right. That's right. But I think that, I mean, it's bad enough that they impose this ridiculous 15% reduction, but that you have this menacing, but everybody has to be on board because we have to have solidarity everywhere. So you have to have solidarity, and then again, it's going to raise the questions. So why exactly, what's the EU doing for us? I mean, we are essentially, this is advising us to live impoverished lives. You know, we're going to be living worse than people lived a few years ago. Suddenly we can't take showers, you know, we can't eat as much as we
the first world.
That's right.
And then on top of it, George, the Ukrainians say, "Hey, we're gonna confiscate Russian gas going to Europe." I mean, what are the Europeans? That's your gas. You paid for it. That's absurd. It's absurd.
That's right. That's right. It's so, I mean, evidently, Viktor Orban was very unimpressed, so he dispatched his foreign minister. Just go there, sign a contract. We you know, and we'll take care of our gas, and we're not sharing it with anyone. I mean, they've already said we're not sharing anything with anyone. So much for solidarity. And again, you know, you have to ask, what's the EU doing for us? You got us into this confrontation, which had nothing to do with us. And now we have to show solidarity with you. Why?
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, Orban went to the grocery store, stocked up on, you know, a few tons of potatoes, and now you have to divvy it up with all countries in the EU. So you're left with one sack. Why go through the process in the first place? Right. No, I mean, Orban's absolutely right. He was elected to represent his people and take care of his country. That's what he's doing. That's not a hard thing to understand. And it has nothing to do with whether he likes Putin or dislikes Putin, likes Russia, likes Ukraine. It has nothing to do with any of those things at all.
Exactly, nothing at all. He's doing what you're supposed to do, you know, when you run for office, which is, you're supposed to take care of the people who voted for you. I mean, you're not there to take care of the EU bureaucracy. I mean, what's the EU bureaucracy to me? What's the European Commission? I mean, who the hell is this Ursula von der Leyen? I mean, it's like, I'm just supposed to sacrifice the interests of my people for Ursula von der Leyen. I mean, whom does she represent other than the EU bureaucracy?
Well, this is an EU solution to an EU problem, right. Okay?
Right.
Figure it out. It's not hard, but, you know, given the pattern that we've seen, starting in December specifically, they always take the wrong step. And so I would say, I don't see any learning curve here, and expect the worst. Expect the worst. Okay.
I think so.
But I can, you know, for gagglers, I have plenty of hot water, plenty of energy. Nobody's worried about that at all. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of an irony that the country that's sanctioned said, yeah, we've got hot water, you know, we can take showers. Germany,
biggest exporter
on your showers.
Biggest exporter of grain in the world. Their problem is to get it to market. Wow, well, that's a terrible problem considering the scheme of things.
Right. That's right.
All right, everybody, we're going to watch this unfolding catastrophe. We're doing it in real time, and we'll continue to do so. This is Peter and George on the Gaggle. We can find us on Locals, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. Please visit our store. And I'm sorry, but Tuesday is a way off, but that's when the next
It's
George.
a long, long way off. You got to get through this weekend, which is always punishing, and then start looking forward to Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Please join me. It's my live stream on Locals. Always a lot of fun. Come with questions, comments, criticisms, and then on the way out, think of little buddy. Think of how absolutely despondent he is. Wallowing in melancholia when he thinks of that tip jar, which is stubbornly refusing to fill itself up. So put a smile on his face. If you have a few coins in your pocket, dunk them in, and that'll help. Very grateful for all of your help and friendship and support. The more you can donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can invest in new technology, and above all, the happier Buddy will be. So remember, if you like the Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.